The importance of development of diversity in theater uh, is pivotal. It's necessary. Um, Theater is supposed to be, at some aspects, at some points, and I would hope overall, a reflection of humanity, even in fantasy. We all have our fantasies, and everybody must be included and reflected in it. Otherwise, what are we doing? You know?
Could you talk a bit about the comparison between London and New York in terms of diversity in theater?
Oh, yes, I can. Honestly, in my opinion, it's not even comparable. They are head and shoulders above us in terms of integration of diversity in their theater. It didn't feel like, to me, from the shows that we saw, that they were trying to fill any sort of quota the same way that we do. There wasn't the same sort of tokenism that we have. I felt genuinely like it was just routine for them to have those types of casts.
Something I've heard often today is that in comparison to London theater and New York theater is that when we do have diverse casts, that's the point. And that we kind of celebrate that to the point of almost abusing that person, using them as a token, using them as a calling card. What's your opinion on that?
I would agree. I also feel like in America, there's only, because I can't speak for the UK because I don't live there, but in America, there's only one room for diversity. It's just enough space. There can only be one Cynthia Erivo on Broadway at a time. There can only be one culturally invested musical at a time. Hamlet opened and shortly after the Color Purple closed. Once on This Island closed after a year. Musicals that are predominantly of people of color tend to close quicker, even though they are successful at a higher rate. They close quicker. Contracts are shorter. People go out of work. The story stops being told or invested in quicker than other stories.
And there's a huge difference. In London, it is so much more diverse, and it's like they're not even trying. Like, almost every show is just diverse, and it's like there's not a big stink about it. It's literally just like there are different people in the shows, like with different ethnicities, different abilities, different and it's not the focal point of the show. Like, they're just involved.
The ensemble of Jamie was incredibly indicative of the actual population of their schools. They were just portraying what it was. Hadestown was gorgeously diverse in multiple ways. It just seemed like sort of part of the everyday theater there, whereas in New York, it's a rarity to have that sort of diversity. It's sort of talked about as this this rare, special thing, and it's publicized that way. You see, like the time that there was the first Black Phantom, that was a huge deal, and they made such a huge deal out of it, and then it kind of faded into the background.
I've seen theater in Ireland, which was an all-white cast. It was an American Assassin, oddly enough. But I've been in a lot of theater, and a lot of the plays that I've done, with the exception of two, have historically been portrayed by mostly all-white cast on Broadway. So anytime I get a script that is from a show that it has been done by an all-white cast, I tend to get nervous because I know my interpretation is culturally related to my life. And I'm always worried how people would perceive it. And people don't often take risks. Directors and casting directors don't often take risks on people who are culturally different from the norm of theater.
Actually, one of the questions that I had after seeing Jamie was, does the story have to remain that of a young white queer person does it have to remain white just because the person they were talking about, the actual story, the actual person that it's based on, happens to be white. And I was informed that actually the understudy for him is not white. I think they said I think he's mixed race of some sort. I think he's black. But that's not even, they don't write articles about it. They don't showcase it the same way that we do. It's just part of the day-to-day.
Incredible. That does not happen here. Like here, if you see a show and it's like there's, you know, good diversity, it's usually like the point of the show. Like there's a big stink about it and like the whole bit, but it's like in London everything's just diverse and it's not the point. Like there's usually, like sometimes it is, but there's something else going on too that's like not, it's just not a big deal. Like they're just more, it's already happening.
In America, diversity means tokenism, as opposed to allowing people to exist authentically. Whatever that is, however that feels, sounds, or smell like, allow people to exist authentically without asking them to change, without bringing too much attention to their diversity as opposed to their talent. I have an issue when someone said that's a strong black actor. Or specifically when it comes to people of color, in my experience, before they even mention their talent, they use the word strong or hardworking. Like that's something to point out. We're all working. It's hard. We know the game, but we have the talent, and it has to be synonymous. The one can be put above the other because that's how you tokenize someone.
It's our job. That's our job to make sure that that change starts to happen here. I think that's what I most took away from the trip, and seeing the way that they integrate diversity in all of its forms there, is that I have a newfound sense of drive to try and integrate that into the theater that I do in my career and try and implement those changes here. Because I think if we don't start doing it, then who's going to?
I hope the world continues to change, and I hope people of our generation who are graduating take the initiative, no matter how hard it is, how tough it might be, and how lonely this road is, to change it. And everybody's not going to agree, but the moment you give in to agree with other people because they want to be right, we set our children back 10, 15, 20 years. Next thing you know, we're in the same revolution all over again. Who's to blame then? You know, this is our chance, our opportunity to make things different. So, that's it.